Hi guys, we're students of Hana Academy Seoul attending Big History class. This video is about a little big history of Washington D.C. and we're going to focus on two thresholds: immigrations of various peoples and capital relocation. Let's get started.
In 1000 CE, about 8,000 Native Americans were living in 40 different villages of Maryland, the land of Washington D.C. When the Europeans first came to Maryland in the early 17th century, the Native Americans were exposed to European epidemics. Because the Native Americans weren't immune to these diseases, people began to die in massive numbers. Not only diseases, but the war between neighboring regions also made the survival of the Native Americans much harder. As a result of the war and diseases, most of the tribes and the people of Native America disappeared at the end of the 17th century. Soon after, Maryland became a colony of England.
In 1980, 70% of Washington, D.C.'s population was African American, and now the ratio is 49%. Although the ratio fell quite much, it is still true that African Americans' history has great significance in the history of the city. The immigration of Africans mainly started in the 16th century when the Atlantic trade with slave trade began. As well as in other cities, African Americans were exploited and abused. Especially in Washington, D.C., they were mobilized to build White House. However, on April 16, 1862, 9 months before Emancipation Proclamation announced, District of Columbia Compensated Emancipation Act ended the slavery in Washington, D.C. Since then, many Africans reside in the city and shape the culture of it. The most prominent influence of African Americans is in music. In the city, there is a U Street called Blackbird Way. It served as a birthplace and performing ground for well-known black jazz musicians such as Duke Ellington and Louis Armstrong.
American government had a lot of debt to pay to the soldiers as Pennsylvania Mutiny of 1783 happened in an independent zone. Later in 1787, the Philadelphia Constitutional Conference was held in order to address the concerns caused by these incidents. This gives the federal Congress the power to create a federal district. When Congress was held in 1789, two locations were proposed for the capital, one near Lancaster and another in Germantown. But a deal had been reached among Hamilton, James Madison, and Jefferson, a month earlier, so Potomac was designated as a capital. While the new capital was built on the Potomac, Philadelphia was the temporary capital from 1790, but a yellow fever epidemic hit here in 1793. Eventually, Congress and President moved to the new federal district in 1800.
But Professor, now I wonder how the capital relocation was really like. Well, the city plan of Washington is the sole American example of a comprehensive borough city plan with a coordinated system of radiating avenues and parks overlaid upon an orthogonal grid of streets. It defines the physical character of the national capital through a symbolic and commemorative arrangement of buildings, structures, and views. The plan was intimately related to the establishment of the United States and the creation of the symbolic and innovative capital for the Federal Republic. The plan was managed by architect-engineer Peter Charles L'Enfant and the Macmillan Commission. It has served continuously as the setting for national political expression and nationally significant events, and has influenced subsequent American city planning and other planned national capitals. As new jobs, especially those in high-technology industries, were created in Maryland and Virginia, the population of the suburbs increased as much as 50% by the decade. By the first decade of the 21st century, however, Washington's population began to increase as younger workers moved into revitalized city neighborhoods. Despite these shifts in population, the economies of the district and those of nearby Maryland and Virginia remain interdependent.
These days, Washington D.C. has been developing in various ways. First, Washington D.C. is known for its industrial development. European countries like Britain, Germany, and France has actively branched out to Washington D.C. since it has been highly accessible. This had encouraged Washington D.C. to rank the top output in IT industry across the country. Additionally, let's look into its political aspect. Washington D.C. plays the role of the center of the international politics, as federal legislative, administrative, and judicial authority are located in the region. Last but not least, focusing on its financial aspect, Washington D.C. establishes itself as Mecca of policy laws.
So, this is the end of our Little Big History project. We briefly took a look at the history of Washington D.C. based on two thresholds: We've discovered some social, political, and cultural changes when Washington D.C. was introduced to some new ethnic groups and when Washington D.C. was relocated as a capital. We're looking forward to work with some more cities in not only US but also other countries. Bye!